First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations to you brothers who are enduring this affliction to bring out this faith and bring out this truth in sincerity. And the other day was Christopher Columbus Day. You know what I mean? And, the spirit is moving that a lot of people are, it's not that everybody knows that they're Israelite, but a lot of these holidays are being seen as like it's being seen as like a joke, you know? Because if you go on Facebook, amongst other places, nobody was really saying, Happy Columbus Day, or some shit. Not like when you were in school or anything like that, but it was more like, goddamn Christopher Columbus, rape, rob, murder. They were bringing out, revealing facts about Christopher Columbus. They were bringing out the fact that he was a murderer, rapist, slander. He was everything in the book. You know what I mean? But you did have a couple of people who were defending Christopher Columbus and saying, well, if it wasn't for him discovering the new land, then we wouldn't be here today. Which shit, he should have just never came. So, to be completely honest, because he came on the scene, man, and everything ultimately changed. He's one of the major high-level Edomites throughout history to really make a change. So really, I went and I typed in conquer. There are a couple of pages. This is just a couple of precepts, and I'm going to start this video. This is Romans chapter 8, verse 37. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us, and who loved us. All right, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, and ultimately the Most High. And we are conquerors. Right now we're being conquered. Obviously, we're under extreme bondage. That's completely fine though, because ultimately the spirit is waking up in a lot of these people, a lot of these Edomites, a lot of these heathens. They're starting to see that Christopher Columbus is a bad guy. They don't even want to come to his defense, man. And here's just a video for all you, for all you people who still want to be buddy with the so-called white man. I want y'all to watch this, man.
This Midwestern housewife, like a lot of white Americans, does not think the Negro should present history's bill to her.
We hear so much about the slavery. 300 years ago, our grandfathers were slaves, or 200 years ago, our grandfathers were slaves. Well, for God's sakes, did we have anything to do with that? I had no part in it. I have no slaves.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Her great-grandfather most definitely had slaves. You can tell by her spirit. You know what I mean? And these are some of the people that celebrate this Columbus Day, man. Not only the conquering of Native Americans, but essentially all 12 tribes of Israel by default. Because this place that he, so-called discovered winded up being Babylon the Great,
My folks didn't. My grandparents didn't. Are they blaming us for what happened 3 years ago? Let's forget the past. Think of the future. Build up.
Let me see if I can find that. Because she said just forget it, Just forget it. Can you believe that? Look, let's read this. Let's read about her great-great-great-grandpappy. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 2. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he sat on him, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And so what is that white horse? That's the so-called white man, right? And so he is, not only was he given that the go-ahead to conquer and went forth conquering in those times, he is conquering to this day. That's basically what he's saying, and to conquer, right? Because he's doing it actively. So these same people celebrate the conquering of of Israelites, you so-called Negroes, you so-called Latinos, and so-called Native Americans, also you other people who may look like the heathen nations, but in actuality, through the Spirit, you're actually an Israelite. You know, and they don't care. If you are so-called white, you're okay to these people, man. And by the end of this video, man, you're going to really understand why these people got to go.
Future. And why keep hemming and hawing over the same thing over and over and over again? And they say, you must give me land because my grandfather was a slave. Well, then I would say, for God's sakes, find the man who had your grandfather as a slave and then demand the land from him. Don't.
That's right, and that's exactly what we're going to do pertaining to the book of Isaiah. We're going to get all the reparations that we never got, all right? All the riches are going to be brought upon us, all right? And ultimately, these Edomites are going to go into slavery. That's it, and that's all. I mean, there really isn't anything to argue about. They know it, you know, and that's why these people said this. Do you really think this lady, hey, man, if you think this lady is a demon now, imagine her at 25. 30 in the prime of her life. She probably don't want to hear shit from, and that was back then, she probably don't want to hear shit from no niggas. Columbus Day come around, they probably had parades, passing out cotton candy, lynching, grab a nigga up, you know, lynch him up. That was just all part of the picnic, man. So she said that we should just go and do what? What did she say? She said we need to go and demand reparations from them. I'm tapping captivity because I'm looking for a certain verse in Isaiah, and it's not letting me go to the different it is in Isaiah. It's not letting me go to the specific book. Probably go to 3. This will work because I like this one. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 46, verse 27. But fear not thou, O my servant Jacob, Israel, and be not dismayed, O Israel, right? The 12 tribes. For behold, I will save thee from afar off, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And where's the land of their captivity? This place, America, which this so-called Edomite loves oh so dearly. And it reads, and Jacob shall return and be in rest and at ease, and none shall make him afraid. And who has been making us afraid? People like this so-called white woman, right? Constantly, day in and day out. We got people like her who want the so-called black man, the so-called Latino man, and the so-called Native American man. They want us back in captivity like they had us before, man. And you can tell how the way that they look, you know. But these prophecies are going to come to pass, you know, because he says, behold. So he's saying, look, I will save thee from afar off. And where is afar off? We're all the way over here. We are so far away from Israel, it don't even make any sense. We are in the land of our captivity. All right, and it says, and Jacob shall return and be in rest and at ease. And what time is that talking about? That's during the period where these people go into slavery, subjection, right? And that the earth goes back to its natural course by having what's manifested in the heavens brought down upon the earth. You know what I mean? And that's by having Yahushua HaMashiach at the right hand of the Most High, you know, along with King David, Solomon on down. You know what I mean? All the way to the disciples, all the way to the apostles, down to the elders, down to the brothers, down to the scribes, down to, you know, all the way down from top to bottom. This earth is going to be manifested just as the Lord deemed it from the beginning, you know, because he's constantly telling us this time and time again. This is Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 7. For because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken. And Shamash shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. So this means everybody. No matter who you were going into captivity, much like now. You know, it don't matter who you are here in Babylon the Great. You are still an indentured servant to a lot of these people, man. And I'm just gonna go ahead.
Bother me because I had no part of it.
Across the country, we asked whites whether the main reason Negroes had not made more progress was because of racial discrimination or because Negroes have not worked hard enough. This lawyer expressed a view we heard most often.
We find there is a reluctance upon the part of too many Negroes, particularly among the young, to take the hard and remunerative jobs that must be necessary to earn a living. There is a feeling that for some reason somebody owes them a living.
Now, wait a minute. What is this guy talking about? At about this time, and I can't really get a good sense of the timing of this, but this is definitely a later time. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about this may be the 60s. This may be the 70s. We don't know what the time frame is, but this is an older time. But you see the way that he has such aggression. This is Esau manifesting. You can tell this is Esau. But he said the youth doesn't want these jobs. And what jobs were they talking about at this time? You know what I'm saying? Indentured serving jobs, basically. You know what I mean? Because at that moment in time, a lot of these people's parents were working at, plants, 20, 30 years, 40 years. They retired working at the same plant. They've been working at the same plant from the time they were 16 all the way up until their 70th birthday. They're having it in the plant. They're blowing out the candles, at the plant. And a lot of those young Jakes at the time in that 60s and 70s, they were seeing a different side of things. They were seeing really a surge of power among Jake. Really a surge of power among Israel, because not only that, but the Hispanic man and the so-called black man were really starting to come together in those times. You know what I mean? Documentaries of Brooklyn and different places in New York City, New York. There's many different documentaries showing how the Negro and the Latino were starting to come together simply because of people like this so-called white man right here, wanting the black man, the Hispanic man, and the Native American man to work to death. This is what this guy is talking about. It's not the job. He doesn't have a decent group of homely, docile Negroes, and that's what he wants. And this guy's a lawyer. He's probably not even a defense lawyer. He's probably a prosecutor, by the looks of him. But I'm going to continue the video.
Just about half of whites in our survey said the Negro has not made more progress because he has not worked hard enough. Only 15% blames discrimination. Some had no opinion.
I feel that they're basically lazy. When this summer, for example, opportunity was given to them to better themselves in getting as many jobs as possible in various fields of retail, wholesale, and they don't take the full advantage of accepting the responsibility of going out for these jobs. They feel that they're not good enough for them.
About half of whites agreed with this woman that Negroes tend to be lazy more than whites. And this woman mentioned
the so-called white man is the laziest person on the planet Earth.
Another charge against Negroes, that they have low morals.
Their sex problem, let's face it now, how many white people have 10 illegitimate children?
This is Lamentations, chapter 1, verse 3. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction, and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. This is Lamentations chapter 1, verse 5. Her adversaries are the chief. Her enemies prosper. All right, and this so-called white lady has prospered off the backs of Israel. For the Lord hath afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. And one of those transgressions is believing that you can come to terms and come to peace with people like this demon devil right here. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy. How are they gone into captivity? By being stuck in these jobs that they say they don't even want at the time, and being stuck to be judged by this lady. This lady is good and dead now. She's in captivity. She's a slave right now, as we speak. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? She died, and she's in captivity now. What the reasoning behind this video is to show that these people that celebrate Columbus Day still, these are the Romans, these are the Greeks, these are the Assyrians, these are all the people that you walk by day that literally celebrate the downfall of Israel, man. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Yesterday, and I believe it was yesterday, was Columbus Day. I'm really not too sure. It's been over. I believe it's been about 3 days since Columbus Day. I'm not too sure. I don't pay attention to it too much, you know. But the reasoning behind Columbus Day still being around is it's a check-in. Here in America, every single holiday, basically the whole census, right? The whole consensus is, how are we going to see, are these guys still down with the cause? You know, because after a while, let's say Israel as a whole decides, you know what, we're not celebrating Columbus Day, kind of like this year. That's going to be bad for the so-called white man. He wants everybody to celebrate. He wants July 4th to be a celebration. He don't want us talking about were black people celebrating July 4th in 1776. They don't want us to ask them questions, because we wasn't. We was getting our ass beat. July 4th, 1776 was just another day for the American Negro, Latino, and so-called Native American man. It was just another day, man. And these people right here had us in captivity during that time, and still have us they still have us in captivity to this day. This is Lamentations chapter 1, verse 18. The Lord is righteous, for I have rebelled against his commandment. Hear, I pray you, all people. And what do they mean by all people? All of Israel, all 12 tribes. And behold my sorrow. My virgins and my young men are gone into captivity. And once again, this place was built on the backs of those young men and young women that were taken and brought here by ship. You know what I mean? All this talk about black people are lazy, to a certain extent, that is true. 2/3 of our people are useless to the highest capacity. But in no way can the whole Israelite man be categorized as lazy. A lot of us, man, we in this thing, we got to work, continuously, both in the spirit and, actual work where you clock in, you know what I'm saying? You have to suffer through certain afflictions. These white people so-called white people ain't meant for this. You know what I'm saying? This really is just an example of how they used to complain on the TV. This is the whitewashing, man.
Very few. Very few. This seems to be a trend with them. And I often wondered, what happens to these here men who follow these children? Are they busy making babies elsewhere, or are they busy in the civil rights march yelling for their civil rights?
And 4 out of 10 whites in our survey agreed that Negroes, more than whites, have low moral standards. However, half or more of whites disagree with some of the views you have just heard. For example, they reject the idea that Negroes are more likely than whites to have low morals. But for the moment, we're concentrating on attitudes opposed to racial integration. In Chicago, we talked with a group of whites who call themselves lower middle class. They are worried about Negroes moving into their neighborhood.
And they are not responsible citizens. Until they live like we are, we don't want them.
I don't want to live with me, to tell you the truth. Whether they take care of them or not, I don't want to live with them. Because I ran away from them. If I wanted to live with them, I wouldn't be paying high taxes like I am. I would have stayed where I was.
More than half of whites in our survey believe Negroes are more likely than whites to run down their own neighborhoods.
In the South, they throw the garbage out of the window and the pigs come and eat it. Here they throw the garbage out of the window and no pigs come and eat it.
In general, are Negroes as civilized as whites? 43% of whites said no, Negroes are not as civilized.
It's this image that he's building. They act like savages, like animals. They kill each other, they rape, and they rob. When there's a riot, well, they wouldn't burn their own places. They had signs all over. Soul Brother. Made no difference. They robbed, raped, plundered, looted their own people.
What about the way Negroes care for their children?
Damn, that sounded just like the so-called white man. He robbed, raped, and murdered. And see, this is the problem, man. The reason why these so-called black people were coming into places like Chicago is because they were actually having a good, so-called good life in a lot of places, man. In this movement called gentrification, right, is moving a certain demographic of people and replacing it with another demographic. So a lot of these white folks were having black people who were doing pretty well in other places. They decided to move on up. You know, maybe they wanted to become lower middle class. So as they start moving into the neighborhoods, so-called white people can't take it. They didn't want to see niggas make it. That's basically what they're talking about.
About 1/4 of whites say that Negroes are less likely than whites to take good care of their children.
The colored woman does not take care of her child, does not help to educate this child. There's no problem about it. They're ADC. The more children they can have, the more money they get to go out and play the lottery. They get more money to go out and drink a little more gin. But to take care of their children, they put a pair of shoes on them. I blame the mother for not educating her child when they're born, from the day they're born till the day they grow up.
Lower intelligence. 1 out of 4 whites also believe Negro children are more likely to hold back the class.
When you were in school, your mother made sure you did your homework before you went out. A colored child, if mother or father don't care if they ever do their homework.
And I feel that this is why the white child is so much more superior to the colored. And not because the colored child doesn't want to learn. It's because there's nobody behind him pushing him.
Lower intelligence. About 1 white in 7 agrees that Negroes have lower intelligence at birth than whites.
We're not all created equal. And as far as intelligence,
We are not all created equal. There are 18 nations on this planet, right? Only 18 nations. You can only be one of 18 nations. One of those nations is Israel, the most important nation in the world. All others are subject to the dealings of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai through violence and ultimately physical and spiritual death. Especially the other so-called nation of Edom, man. They are the most destroyed nation on the planet, most definitely. You know what I'm saying? So the superiority complex of the so-called white man back then, right? You feel the pride emanating off these people. That pride is no longer here in 2018. These people, man, they better keep this video for a long time because this is the last time you'll ever see Esau and his pride. You know, his pride has deceived him.
there is a little book called Breeding Down, and it says in there where
eugenics.
The colored is born with an IQ, not born, but it develops to 80 plus, and the white is 90 and up.
About half of whites polled said they do not think most fellow whites want the Negro to have equality.
They don't desire an education of our type. They have different music. They have a different way of dressing. They have different schools or different churches. Their religion is different. Everything is different.
And what did he say? That their religion is different. Now, first of all, if you're an Israelite, you don't have a religion. This is a nationality. Second of all, if you can hear him, see, so-called white man, when he would have church, they actually get into the scriptures. See, that's the advantage of Esau. When Esau go to church, Esau get down. Esau go, he'll fuck around and really get to breaking shit down. Now, obviously, he don't have the understanding, of an Israelite, but at a main base level, he can trick not only Edom, he can also trick other Israelites by having that come as you are sort of spirit. You know what I mean? In the churches that this white man was talking about, he was talking about the Negro churches, which back in those times was it was all dancing. You know what I mean? And even to this day, when you go to church for 2 hours, you're finna dance. You may read a couple scriptures, and nothing's getting broke down. Then you go in the back, you eat sauce meat sandwiches, you eat sausage ropes, biscuits, all sorts of shit, and as a Judite, for the most part, you've been in there a time or two in your youth, but, now there's no reason to go in there, and that's a part of this captivity that the so-called black man and the so-called Negro and, that's the same thing, the so-called Latino, so-called Native American man, that's the affliction that we had to go through. We were raised up in churches. And if it wasn't for the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, we would still be stuck in those churches. And that's how you know that the Lord is calling upon a handful of men. First of all, starting off with the apostles at Great Millstone, then the elders, then the brothers and the Confusion of Faith brothers that are spread all across the four corners of the earth, chiefly. Then there are other people, there are certain guys that are in certain other Israelite groups. They may, not be a part of a camp. They may, live in an area where there is nobody else. You know what I mean? And that's completely fine too. There's different avenues. But for the people that are being called, they're trying to make their election sure. Because ultimately you can be an Israelite all goddamn day. But it's all about if you're the elect. You see, in the elect, know that these demons here that are on this video, when they died, they manifested again, and they're here. These same people, their spirits are here to this day, somewhere. And some of these white people, man, they're reincarnated as the same evil devil. These people are demons, man. And with that, this is Lamentations chapter 4. Verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished. All right. So this is talking about how everything is made in perfect order with punishment. You see, the Lord is going to continue to chastise his people, but that's for our sake. So the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished. So he's achieved the level of pain that he wants to inflict on his people. It says, O daughter of Zion, which is, you so-called black women, okay? You so-called Hispanics, you so-called Native Americans, okay? All the daughters of our people. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. And how will he come and visit? Through the chariots and through the angels who are going to come and, really, take this place out, to be completely honest. Because he's saying he will visit thine iniquity, O daughters of Edom. And this is a daughter of Edom right now on the screen, you so-called white women. He will discover thy sins. And how is he going to discover their sins? Ultimately by destroying them. Because these chariots, man, are going to be fitted with technology like we can't even comprehend, you know what I mean? And it's gonna happen. And hey, when the chariots come, these so-called white people, a lot of them are just gonna have a heart attack as soon as they see it go down. That's why we know that we're coming into the times of the Lord returning, man, because these sort of white people right here, they couldn't handle it. These people right here, oh no, they couldn't handle no niggas.
38% of whites said they do not think other whites are sympathetic to the problems of the Negro.
I don't want to help them. I don't want to help them. And I don't want them living next door to me for the simple reason that there might be a lot of nice ones, but I got 4 kids, and I don't want them growing up with colored next door to them.
because it's a proven fact. They grow up, they think nothing of each other, they play together. Pretty soon they're in their teens, they start dating, and pretty soon they're marrying. I don't want my kids marrying a colored person.
We have just heard the views of militia. Many whites who might be against a complete split between the races nonetheless have no desire to see the Negroes come closer than they are now. For example, about half the whites said they would object to housing for Negro families in present all-white neighborhoods. And 4 out of 10 whites say they would object to busing Negro students to better schools. We found when it comes to ways for the Negro to protest for what he wants, most whites are against Negro picketing or boycotting. In fact, against anything other than holding a protest meeting. When Negroes riot in our ghettos, what is to blame? The causes mentioned most often by whites have to do with ghetto conditions. But on the other hand, great numbers of whites say it is largely because of a communist plot, or that it's mostly young kids looking for excitement, or that it's a way for Negroes to steal things and not get caught. More than a third of whites say that when a riot occurs, it would be a good idea for police to shoot 1 or 2 rioters as examples to the rest.
Shoot to kill. If they're old enough to violate law, shoot him. If it's my own kid, I'd say shoot him. He deserves it.
That's a lie. That's a lie. You know that a lot of these people that are on the street doing a lot of this dirt, they are the sons of police officers. They are the sons of some of the highest capacity of people in society, quote unquote, lawyers, doctors, academic heads, politicians. Their sons are the ones going around raping, robbing, and murdering. So this fucking liar, okay, this liar right here is telling all sorts of abominations and atrocities. Talking about he would shoot his own son. Man, the so-called white man doesn't have any judgment for his so-called son. He can be all sorts of shit, man. And he ultimately, so-called white man doesn't care, man. He doesn't care about anything but himself.
You obey laws. There's laws for us. There's laws for Negroes. Let them start obeying them.
They should be shot. That's the only way we can stop them. I can't see where the policeman has to stand there and just hold his gun in his hand. And for what? They're breaking the law, aren't they?
To review, what can we conclude about the degrees of white opposition to equality and integration for the Negro? About half of the whites in our survey say they do not believe most whites want equality. About 1/2 of whites deny that discrimination is the main reason for holding back the Negro. About 1/2 of whites say they do not want Negro families moving into all-white neighborhoods. What about feelings of superiority to the Negro? About 14% of whites say that whites are born innately superior to Negroes, and about 43% of whites say the Negro is not as civilized as whites. What about attitudes that may reflect a degree of white hostility? About 1/3 of whites believe that 1 or 2 rioters, and rioters today for the most part means Negro, should be shot as an example to the rest, meaning immediate punishment without due process of law, contrary to American tradition.
The Hyundai Elantra and Sonata.
Hey, man. Oh, man. You know, you really gotta laugh at these so-called white people, man. And they really think they're finna get away with that. Okay. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 20. And the children of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sheparad, shall possess the cities of the south. And what is that talking about, man? When you so-called devils finally get put into line, man. Just like you tell us we need to, talking about getting shot in the street. What the hell, man? It's just wild, dude. I'm gonna just read through all of these, probably until the bottom. This is the book of Micah, chapter 1, verse 16. Make thee bald and poll thee for thy delicate children. enlarge thy boldness as the eagle, for they are gone into captivity from thee. And who are the people that are gone into captivity? Israel. Whose baldness is being enlarged as the eagles? Israel. The baldness of the eagle, right, is that baldness of Rome, right, which is not having that covering of the Most High, and it was a Roman custom, not only to shave physically, but also to shave any sort of Hebrew, anything not pertaining to the Roman way of life was shaved off and taken away. That's why it says, "Make thee bald," and poll thee for thy delicate children. You know what I mean? Like a poll, like a census. So they're definitely being counted up, acquired, rounded up, and balded. Spiritually. This is Nahum chapter 3, verse 10. Yet was she carried away. She went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets. And they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. So this is talking about, obviously, once again, us getting demolished, man. Time and time again, we're getting put into captivity, and this is going to be our last captivity, man, and we're out of here soon. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1, verse 9. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. All right? So who's the sand of the sea? Israel. Right? So we're the ones who are gonna really make it pop, man. In layman's terms, we're really gonna make it pop, and that's why it talks about violence here. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. All right? And who's gonna be the captivity? Captivity is going to be those so-called white people. Like, you gather up a bunch of sand in your hand and you just, fuck around with it. You might squeeze it. You might sprinkle it all out. You might just toss it, That's how they're going to be rounded up. This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 7. And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon. In the houses of Ashkelon shall they lay down in the evening. For the Lord their God shall visit them and turn away their captivity. We're in captivity right now, so the Most High God is gonna visit us through His innumerable amount of angels and chariots. He's gonna turn us away from our captivity by anointing that 144,000 and those 1/3 with a seal of protection. So when all of this shit goes down, those 1/3 and those 144,000 men shall not perish. We read Zephaniah. Really, and this is what I was looking for during the video. This is the last one I'm going to read. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So the so-called white man has led us into captivity time and time again, right? So we're going to lead him into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And that ultimate sword is those missiles. Now, who dropped bombs on the Ammonites in Japan? Esau. So ultimately, he's going to get killed with that same sword, a missile, because that's the ultimate sword. When it talks about sword, it not only means guns, but we're pertaining to the big picture sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And who are the saints? Those elect men of Israel who can decipher this message that's going towards them and that's being pushed out, because the vibration they held by Shem Yahushai is resonating through the spirit of a lot of these jakes, man. And a lot of these people are waking up. A lot of these people are realizing that this black identity extremist bullshit, that's a way to take out Israel. They're starting to realize that there really is a attack on the so-called Negro, the so-called Latino, and the so-called Native American man. And that's why we have to really increase this, you know what I mean? And everybody has something to get on, get on themselves about. everybody, if you're really in the spirit, you're just like, yeah, I got to keep going. I got to stay on my walk, because they're constantly trying to take you off of your walk. One of the biggest things that they can tell Israelite is that he's not in captivity. This is a form of captivity. Babylon the Great is the last, man. It's the last test, man. And this is our last chance as men, and all the apostles at Great Millstone, all the elders at Great Millstone, they know that this is our last chance, and that this is our last captivity. The Assyrian captivity, the Babylonian captivity, the Roman captivity is nothing compared to this. This is the ultimate trial of faith. And it will be, a lot of brothers may get taken to concentration camps. They may get taken to black sites. They may get tortured, murdered. Their families may get, murdered. You never know, because the so-called white man, you heard it first, man. You seen the video. They want blood. Those same spirits are here today. Yet some of those same people are your senators. They are your chiefs of police. They are your wardens at your correctional institutions. They have high positions of power. And those people on that video are a lot of these so-called white people's grandparents, parents even. You know what I mean? So don't be fooled by these snakes, man. So I just want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. I want to say Kwam Yasharala Wahamashiach Yahweh Shai. And I want to say to the Israelite, ma'am, you 1/3, keep pushing, keep studying. And we're almost out of here, because you boneheaded ass niggas, you stupid ass niggas, you stupid ass so-called wetbacks, and you stupid ass so-called arrowheads, right? That's you 2/3 Negroes, you 2/3 Latinos, and you 2/3 Native Americans. Y'all need to wake up, right? And understand that really the only way out of this is by getting into this book, man. You either gonna join in on this party, man, or you gonna miss out. Because this party's coming to a close, man. Because Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, he's not happy with this place. For the first time, on Christopher Columbus Day, for the first time, man, people were standing up against the so-called white man. We're gonna continue to see this spirit of anti-Edom is gonna keep increasing, man. And the captivity of the so-called white man through these drugs is going to increase. Jake is going to get more and more in tune with Hamashiach Yahweh Shai and Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai Ba'ashim Rakakodash. And ultimately that 1/3 and that 144,000 are going to be sealed and have the name of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai written in their forehead and be made perfect. So with that, I just want to say shalom to the elect.